Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us on the panel of what role can philanthropy play to catalyze change on food systems. I'm Renata Minerbo from the Earth. I'm trustee and head of philanthropy. I'll explain a bit more about what the Earth is in a minute. But to start, I want to bring a little practice that we're used to doing in our organization, that is inviting you to write on the chat box one thing you're grateful for, so we can start landing and connecting. So anything, you feel free to share here. And I'll give us a minute for that, and then I'll start introducing ourselves a bit more. I think maybe the messages are going to our dear or RFC volunteers. So I'm glad someone see what you're grateful for. So just a quick Zoom etiquette here. Well, I think this is a different platform, but speakers will be showing on the screen. And after an hour of conversation, we're going to migrate to the Zoom link for the Q&A, and you're welcome to take notes, interact, and all that. We'll also have conversation about the challenges for the food movement and how different approach for philanthropy can unlock new possibilities, new paths for change. So I'll start introducing myself and Be the Earth a little bit. Be the Earth is a UK-based organization that combines creative use of capital to catalyze economies that prioritize life on Earth. So we like calling ourselves a living lab, and we like also to challenge the traditional ways of doing philanthropy. So offering a more relationship-based, a more trusting and debureaucratized way of working together and building partnerships. And we focus on creating collaboration with people and organizations that share the vision of regenerative economic systems that prioritize life on Earth for all beings, which is quite broad, but also quite important that we work holistically. And like a fungal network, attain to the paradigms of reciprocity and interconnection, the Earth seeks to offer and widen access to diverse types of capital. So we like going beyond just funding with money, basically, and also offering capacity building, access to expand their network, communication pieces, and beyond peer-to-peer learning. So different tools to make sure people and projects are equipped to keep working their work, keep doing their work beautifully and growing their impact in the world. So just to give you a little intro on the topic of why can philanthropy play an important role to shift food systems, giving a bit of context of this traditional philanthropy that I mentioned the Earth doesn't do. That is basically because in our view, traditional philanthropy is replicating the system that we want to change. It's very hierarchical. There is a very strong power dynamic between funders and fundees. It's a very narrow way of thinking and operating, trying to make things very linear and very quantitative, while we know process of working, being humans, and especially creating change is not linear at all. And many, many, many important things like trust and belonging, or I don't know, community well-being or food sovereignty is not necessarily all easy or possible to be put in numbers. So we like challenging that. We also like challenging how due diligence is made, how reporting is made, making that much more human process rather than a huge document with hundreds of questions and a really long report that probably the team will need to hire someone to make that happen, and the foundation is unlikely to read the whole work people put in it. So after myself having been a social entrepreneur and activist on the ground in Brazil for over 10 years, I also brought that experience of being quite frustrated working with community development and not being able to fit on the boxes of usual grant calls. So I think I bring a bit of my own experience. And then after coming to the funding world, meeting other peers like Anna and Fernanda, who are here on the call, and I will introduce in a bit, learning that are other people also practicing what we've learned. It's called trust-based philanthropy. It's one of our regenerative philanthropy, many names that we can use to define that. But yeah, even though it's a bit overwhelming that the traditional philanthropy sometimes not only makes lives of people on the ground a bit more complicated, but also many times the money that is used to make the philanthropy is generated by investments in very damaging industries. So there is a big incoherence between this relationship of where the money comes from and what the organizations are funding. And it's not uncommon that, for example, a family office or corporation makes money in fossil fuel industry and then funds movements and projects that are fighting the consequences of the fossil fuel industry. So even though there are a lot of that still happening, there's also a lot of groups that we've been meeting and connecting around the globe that are looking to find this coherence and looking to build partnerships and looking to value things beyond a spreadsheet. So with that, I'm happy to introduce you to our guests. So basically, we have two cases here, and I'll name them very quickly. And right after that, we can jump into the first dialogue between one of the projects. Okay, so to start with, we're going to have a Brazilian case with Fernanda Meister from Meraki Institute and Paula Scherer from Aterra. They're sharing about the food lab they're creating in the Amazon in order to support traditional communities to develop products from raw native ingredients. And we'll also have a UK European-based case with Anna van der Hurd. And we hopefully will have Pablo Garcia joining us in a bit. Otherwise, Anna will have plenty to share and inspire you. But basically, they want to talk about their experience in regenerating threatened ecosystem while consolidating a food business. So I'll start telling you a bit more about Fernanda. Fernanda Meister is an environmental attorney and gastronom, currently general manager of Meraki's branch in Brazil, and the Investors Relation Officer after working 13 years as an attorney in litigation and consultancy. She has joined Progresso Single Family Office and Meraki Impact in 2021 to support projects that produce food aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals. So thank you again, speakers, for being here with us. Welcome, Fernanda. And to start to warm up our conversation and our panel here, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions that I will say both of them, and then you can either answer them separately or connect them, however you prefer. So the first question is, what would you say is unique about Meraki's approach in philanthropy? If we're talking about different ways of working and relating to people we support, what is different to the traditional philanthropy? And also, what does an ideal food system looks like? And what is the role of philanthropy in the wider movement? So I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you, Renata. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for the invitation as well. So I would like just to give an overview about how Instituto Meraki was born. I think that this is important to understand the way we develop philanthropy in Brazil. So from the very beginning, it was clear to us that bringing a new institute to the Brazilian philanthropy scenario on the same mindset that has been always happening in Brazil, the traditional philanthropy, did not make sense for the values that are our core. And basically, we are focused on climate and social justice. And because it's so complex to deal with these topics, we understood that there were already people in the field that knew better how to deal with these topics than what we know about it. And that we needed more players to address the issues than building a structure the traditional way with a lot of specialists and hiring people and spending money with the structure instead of bringing the money to the field to address the problems and the issues and the complexity that is already set and happening. So before Instituto Meraki was born, we did a deep research on grassroots and organizations, environmental leaders, and communities that were capable of dealing and handling the necessary actions towards sustainable, just, and equitable society that we went to see. And we were happy to find that there are so many skilled people and projects that have already delivered a lot of value on these topics, and that we could partner with them and learn with them. So from this mindset, we started to map and check how we could build these relationships on trust and collaboration. And going into the relationship we have with Idesan, that is where Equia came from. We knew Idesan's work in the field for over 17 years, working with the Amazon and knowing better than probably any other institution in the region how to deal with indigenous communities, riverside communities, and indigenous people and their challenges on keeping the forest and taking care of the forest and live in and with the forest. So from this perspective of taking care of the forest and keeping the forest, but not in a way that is just, okay, we are gonna fence the forest and conserve it and it's just biodiversity that we have there, and that's it. No, we understand that we have to take care of the people that is there, and usually the focus is not that. The focus is just like, let's go through conservation, and what we need is to bring the spotlight to the people that live and take care of the forest, because this is the relationship that goes and make the forest alive and keep going. Um, so knowing the potential and the problems that we have on logistic and seasonality on the food products that the forest can bring to us and that can give to us, superfoods, a lot of potentials. They came up with the idea of developing the food lab. And to develop the food lab, we needed a business plan. So the whole idea was to bring their knowledge in the field, and this idea of developing a food lab that would integrate the local communities to the project. We gave a grant for this purpose in a partnership with ATEA. And after a fermentation process, let's say, just because we are in the process of talking about food systems, we got the launch of the food lab in December. And it is a very, I must say, a very nice and inspiring project that we really want to see it happening and flourishing. So on the way we make grants basically is that. And for the food system, the ideal food system, it's a very challenging question, I must say. But I think that we have to start thinking about how a food system should not be like. And a food system, sustainable food system, should not be a system where we do not have food sovereignty and where we do not have people well fed. So as long as we have food loss, malnutrition, and biodiversity loss, we are failing on a sustainable food system, on having a sustainable food system. And to achieve that, we must support the grassroots movement, because their work is strategic on food sovereignty and keeping our seeds and biodiversity and nutrition.
Thank you very much. It is indeed a challenging question. And I think I brought it up because Paula will share a bit more of her work now, but it's interesting that in our bubble, at least mainly in the UK bubble, we're very much about local native seeds, traditional way of farming, which I'm very connected to, and I am very enthusiastic, but also there is technology that can be in service of that as well. And I think a food lab is one of these kind of technologies, and it's interesting because I'm usually not in touch with this approach that much. So I find it quite interesting to see where these both meet. And before jumping into Paula, I just want to reinforce that Gabriela, that works alongside us at Be the Earth, shared a Jamboard link with you on the chat, and you can click there and check notes people are making. You can share your ideas, and we'll be happy to share that after as well. so we can wrap up our conversation and get all the food for thoughts that are coming up while we speak. Okay, so I'll move on to Paula Scherer. She's the CEO of Ecuya and Amazonia Food Lab. Paula is former COO, the Question Mark Company and A Terra Climate Hub, founder of House of Ideas and Great Hustlers and Creators, and CEO of Ecuya Amazonia Food Lab. She's a gastronome with more than 8 years of career in development and operational management of products, technologies, and businesses in food, health, and climate sector. So welcome again, Paula. Thank you for joining us. And as I did with Fernanda, I'll also share both questions, and you can either answer them separately or connect because it's all interconnected. So my first question is, what would you say is the biggest challenge in the Amazonian and or Brazilian food system? We know there's a lot of starvation there at the moment, so that's a big one. And the second question is, what part of the challenge of this whole system is Ecuya trying to address and how?
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Renata. Thank you for the invitation as well. Thank you, Fernanda, Anna. I think Pablo has joined us as well. Okay, this is a challenging question, but Brazil is a huge country with many different territories. And for our purpose, I would like to define territory. I think goes hand to hand to what Fernanda says before, but as the geographical space of a social group that is constituted either institutionally or politically, over which exercise control and enjoy the natural resources in this context. And well, the Amazonian environment becomes even more complex when we think about territories like that, because we are talking a huge and large forest with many different territories and social economic constructions, really different from the common logic that we are used to. So this is really, really challenging by itself. And I believe that this brings me to what I believe is the biggest challenge for developing food system in Amazon, is the dialogue between the capital, the industry, and the forest needs to recognize the social productive dynamics to truly create developments that allow us to keep the forest standing and prospering. So it's basically what Fernanda said before. We need to create more conscious dialogues between who has the capital, who is in the ground, who is in the industry, and even the consumers. So that leads me to the second challenge that I truly believe Amazon is the breadbasket of the world for food supply in the coming years. But we need to learn to deal with the flow and the rhythm of the forest production. And it's extremely necessary to have resources to provide structural and intellectual support for new products to be inserted in the world market. So we need to find products that can really fit to the market. We need to have technology, structure, factories. We need to bring that in a sustainable way and respecting the rhythm of the forest. So it's a really huge challenge, but we are trying to address some solutions. And it seems simple, but we need the structure and knowledge. To give you an idea, 70% of the raw material that comes out of Amazon today is food, but we only have 0.7% of food startups coming from the region. So we need to get more proprietary, I don't know how to say that, but we need to empower ourselves and use the biodiversity to start to keep the forest alive. And I think last but not least, we need to stop isolating Amazon and look like, oh my God, Amazon is so different and so another world. We need to see those ingredients, like how we integrate the forests in order to keep the forest alive. So as consumers, what I can know, track, think, and which products I can have today that can help not only my body to stay healthy, but those territories as well. And not only I will save the forest, but their communities, their social political dynamics, their economies need to remain healthy too. So we need to see how us as a market can bring Amazon products and Amazon cultures and Amazon process and rhythms to our lives, and how we can help this in maybe with food products. With everybody today knows acai, but we can have another acai out there too. And the forest the biodiversity is huge. I think I don't need to talk about this, but there is many products with high nutritional and market potential that could be on our shelves today. And we have a lot of research. The last 30 years of research in the region have led us to a really enormous potency of ingredients, but we still need to educate people and the market how to consume them. And Equia was literally born out of these challenges. How Fernanda said before, it is working in Amazon from 18 years, and they really put their hands in the ground. They know how it is out there. And they came to us, to Aterra, with the necessity to create a food hub. So we can have those hard conversations that we are trying to have now. And we it is works in the bioeconomy axis, and majorly it's food products and food business and food companies are things correlated to that. And we started to see that those companies was really doesn't having enough straight to go traction, and they spend a lot of time looking for traction, but they really doesn't get it. And we started to study it, and we came up with this problem, majorly infrastructural problem. We don't have enough factories in the region and enough production technologies to create more stable products, more market fit products as well. So we need more technology, and basically this came from infrastructure, and it's really hard to get capital and investment for infrastructure. So Equia born to be this meeting point for those difficult conversations, and also for provide the infrastructure to scale up new food business from Amazon. So we work in 4 ways in order to create solutions for a new economy based on the sustainable use of the forest. So the first one is basically an open innovation space where we position ourselves as a mediator in the dialogue between productive communities, corporations, investors, and industry. And the main focus is creating solutions that will respect the rhythm of the forest without affecting the logic that the industry are used to. The second one is literally a shared production infrastructure that will allow those food techs to gain scale and also better production flows. The third one is a lab with intelligence and technology in research and development, really for more stable projects with more market power. And the last is community, where we seek to create marketing partnerships and partnerships with education channels and others that can support the development not only of awareness about the ecosystem, but how can you use those products, how good they are, how nutrition empowered they are, and use that to educate the consumer market as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a big challenger putting yourself up to address, because I think the usual models are either this very exploitative relationship with the local communities that are growing the raw products and being bought for very little amount, and then either international people or Southeast, like São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro area, are making loads of profits on top of it. Or also they say, okay, acai is a big trend, and then everyone shifts and starts to working with basically a monoculture that is disconnected to their culture, that is disconnected to the forest rhythm, as you said, and also different accelerating programs that I come across that expect traditional communities to have business skills or access to technology as people in the southeast of the country. So it's really cool to, see that as a possible path forward. Thanks for sharing. And we'll have both Fernanda and Paula back with us in a bit, but we're now gonna invite our second case to join us, Ana and Pablo. Welcome, Pablo and Ana. So it's interesting because this first case we just shared was a philanthropic grant given to enable the Paula's team to put the business model together and do the research, all the backstage work before the real products literally come out. And in case of Ana and Pablo, it's a loan. It's a different model. So I'll let them go more into it in a bit, but I think it's good to give the context that philanthropic work is not only about having a grantee and getting a report, and after a year, the way capital is used can be very diverse. So that's what I'm excited also to hear about in terms, how can that shift the work on the ground. So I'll first introduce Ana van der Hurd, the Chief Executive Officer for the A-Team Foundation. Ana has been the Chief Executive Officer of A-Team Foundation since 2009. It's a UK-based philanthropic charity that supports food and land projects that are ecologically, economically, and socially conscious, contributing to the wider movement that envisions a future where real food is produced by enlightened agriculture and all will have access to it. So Ana, as I did with the other two guests, I'm gonna ask you both questions at the same time, and you take your own time to answer them. So the first one is, what would you say is A-Team's role within the food movement specifically? I know you also work hybridly, similarly to Be the Earth in terms of impact investing and philanthropy. So how does that reflect on the food movement? And among so many other important causes to focus on, why food? Where did that interest come from?
Thanks, Renata. Hello, everyone. So to answer the first question, what is our role within the food movement? And I would say that we are part funder, part cheerleader, part vigil holder, conspirator, collaborator, friend, who holds an unwavering faith in the agroecological movement's capacity to transform our shared experience, one carrot at a time, to one that is equitable, regenerative, reciprocal with the earth and considers the whole. The real food and farming movement, to borrow vernacular from our current conference, is ever growing. And while we as an individual small foundation can only fund a fraction of the organizations projects and businesses seeking a better food system, we remain, 13 years and counting, ever seeking new ways to support the movement, punching above our financial weight, I believe, and connecting to a growing funding community that also sees the essential need to support agroecology, while also looking to address the power imbalances at play and centering trust in philanthropy. So we, as Renata said, we don't just give grants. We look for other ways of supporting financially, be that loans or direct investments, equity investments and debt. And so we have a sort of blended portfolio of grants and impact or mission-related investments. And again, you know, one thing that's been so beautiful and continues to grow is the movement of funders, like-minded funders, both in the UK and internationally, that are looking at new ways of putting trust back into philanthropy and addressing those power imbalances that you know, have been sort of at the you know, major issue within philanthropy. So we are grateful to be here today with Renata, who is an ally of Be the Earth. And I will answer the second question, which is among so many other important causes to focus on why food. From my perspective, unless you're a practiced breatharian, and I'm still hoping to meet one, so if there's anyone in the audience, please email me. We are all united in our interdependence on food. At the A team, food is the lens we choose to see the world through. With each bite, we choose a moment to connect or disconnect to the earth from which we all come and came from the deeply complex, sometimes short and sometimes very long supply chain, from the bacteria and mycelium in the soil, the plants, the farmer, the cook, and all those in between, the very fabric of life that went into the food we eat, that builds the body that we each live in. Food is nourishment, it is healing, builds community, celebrates diversity, it is communion, can empower. It is medicine for the many issues, both social and environmentally, we collectively face. Food and food systems can also be highly extractive, weaponized, and create ill health, exclusion, separateness, and too often despair. The A team, we choose to focus on all the good that a harmonized food system can create, on our individual health, community cohesiveness, ecosystem restoration, and a deeper connectivity and love to each other, all beings, Mother Earth, and the cosmos. So that answers your questions, Renata.
Yes, thank you so much. Before going to Pablo, I think one thing my husband and I have been reconnected to also in terms of the food, how long it takes to grow from the little seed until it grows and it's harvested and then ready and cooked, and then we like just swallow it in 10 minutes. And we're trying to monitor ourselves to get back to chewing, which sounds really obvious and simple, but like we have the last 3 days, I think it's taken us 3 times as long to finish a meal as we used to, because we're actually mindfully choosing to chew and honor this whole time that is taken to grow food and get it prepared until it gets to our plate. So yeah, definitely something that connects us and to each other and to nature. Thanks for sharing that. And moving now to Pablo Garcia, the CEO of Almendrejesa. Pablo has more than 6 years of experience managing companies related to the agricultural sector and food industry in Spain, and is currently the CEO of Almendrejesa, a farmer-driven trading company that aims, together with Common Land Foundation and Alvelal Association, to promote regeneration of a threatened ecosystem in southeastern Spain through marketing high-quality almond and pistachio products, among others, since 2016 all over Europe. So welcome, Pablo. I'll also share here both questions and you'll jump in a minute. So the first question is, can you explain more about the environmental challenges you're addressing with the production of nuts? It's really interesting also having such different ecosystem we're discussing about, because they also require very different solutions. And the second question is, what did A-Team Foundation support enabled you to do that wouldn't be possible through a traditional philanthropic support? So over to you.
Okay, thank you, Renata. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity of being here today. Regarding the first question, I would like to explain you first what are the threats that are enhancing our territory. Basically, it is the intensive agriculture and also the climate change that is leading this area in the southeast of Spain to the desertification, which means natural resources degradation, soil, especially water, biodiversity, but also the population. Since 2016, we have been trying to solve this, basically using the model that Common Land, the foundation developed for degraded landscapes, that is based in trying to achieve 4 returns: an environmental return, a social return, a financial return, and also an inspirational. So we are trying to have not just an impact on the farms, but also in all the landscape, 1 million hectare landscape. And we are trying to do this by Albelal Association. And we are trying to use what we call regenerative agriculture. That is a different agriculture from the organic one, based on the organic one, but we are going beyond in some practices. And the role of Almendresa in all this ecosystem is to be the trader that put in value market the products that are mainly grown in the territory. Our revolution has been, we started with 21 farmers in 2016, 36 tons of kernel of almond. That is our main product. And now we have more than 50 farmers. We are impacting directly on more than 2,500 hectares in the territory, talking about just almond growth. So we are growing. Regarding your second question, I would say that the support of philanthropy and especially A-teams has been key for us. Let me explain briefly what are our financial needs. Basically, we need short-term tools to cover working capital, which means to pay the farmers as soon as possible, while selling the product along the year. And also we have needed long-term tool to invest in fixed assets and marketing to become more competitive and develop a higher value-added market. This is key to achieve this financial return. So A-team has been a support from the very beginning. We were a pioneer project in Europe. No one was growing regenerative almonds, and A-team believed in the project from the very beginning, and this led other investors, family offices, and also banks later to trust us and also to participate in the financing pool. I have to talk also about the terms and conditions that has always been affordable for us. This is very, very important for a newly emerged project because we have tried to transfer the value downstream to the farmers since we developed the market. So to find this kind of partnership let us also to keep growing. Also, it's very important the flexibility and understanding. I mean, when you start a business, you have to do with a few people and you have to take care of a lot of things, the marketing, the purchases, the financing, the fixed assets, and I think philanthropy, and we have experience also with traditional banks, working with traditional banks, understand that the times, the bureaucracy also must be adapted to all the rest of the pending tasks that a business like ours have. Also, it is a very important factor of constant exchange. I will say information. I have known by A-Team, by Anna, a lot of inspiring projects for us, other potential investors, even potential clients for our products, because you are now connected to a global network by this kind of financiers. So I will summarize this as the main advantages of working with philanthropy. And I think that's all, Renata. If you want me to go deeper.
No, that's perfect. Thank you, Pablo. Yeah, I think it's a great reminder that also Paula brought up about the rhythm of the forest, and now you're bringing the rhythm of regeneration, and then the usual expectations of investors of like short-term return, and like very clear production prediction. So how much you're gonna be able to, how many tons of food or how much money. And when you're talking about nature cycles with climate change, that you can't rely on the climate anymore. So it's really important that investors have this kind of flexibility, because otherwise there's no way out other than using pesticides and things to guarantee a certain commitment, and then distributing non-healthy food for the world. So yeah, thank you for sharing. And I think also, using your last answer as a hook, I want to invite Paula and Fernanda back to the screen and ask one question that is something that Be the Earth often asks and often wants to offer, that is the support beyond capital. So if we want to create relationship, we also need in some ways to weave other kinds of resources into it. Otherwise, it is very financial based, and that's something we've been exploring a lot. So my questions to you, a bit more philanthropy focused, is besides money, how can the progressive funder support activism, and especially the food movement? So of course, yes, money is important, but what else is needed from the people on the ground? So Pablo gave a good example of opening door to different investors, for example, but what else? And can start maybe with Pablo or Paula, and then Fernanda and Anna, if you want to bring your perspectives as well.
Okay, I think relationship is the whole of trust-based philanthropy, because it's relationship that help us to create the opportunities. So with Fernanda and with Meraki, and also in Na Terra, we work really close to those investors and those grants, because for us it's important to, and I will keep simple because it's truly is. We are close, we are friends, we talk, we call to each other and say, oh my God, I need some help. I'm not clearly understanding what's here. And then we improve and see, and okay, there is a possibility here. And then we go to decide, and okay, we need to remodel this. It will cost this money to go there. Okay, let's find a way, or how you say, some alternative investor we can find here for this proposal. So it's important for us to keep this relationship really open. And by open, it's be honest. It's hard here. I need help. I think help, it's the most important word I learned in this whole process, because I need help. It's so important. You look for the person that is helping you, who is investing you, and see and look in the eyes and says, I need help to achieve this. Can you help me? I'm not going here. I'm struggling in this point, because we know it's not easy. We will not do this alone. It's a huge challenge. So it's important to keep honest and to keep true. And I think get a close and honest relationship with the investors, and it's the most important thing. And then come opportunities and new investors and alternative ways to see those problems. And I believe it's the most important thing I can say about it.
From my side, maybe I will underline now the adaptation capacity, maybe, because, you know, when you started, you have a very very strict business plan with a lot of figures in it, but then you start working, and the reality of the markets changes every year, and you know, everything is different from what you expected sometimes, and then is when it is important to have this kind of partnership that you can have a fluid communication, explain, okay, we expected the sales, or we expected the price of the product to be like that, but then it has been different because of this and that, and we need to adapt we need to modify our initial strategy or tactics. This is what we have found, that is very easier with this kind of partnerships than with others, because they can maybe spend the time to listening, understanding, and then they can adapt also the tools, adapt also the conditions. So I will underline this.
So, you know, I know Paula was saying this, but, you know, the relationships for us are really what makes my work so beautiful. You know, I get to meet such inspiring people and learn daily from their work. And I think that, you know, it's within those relationships that grantees or in people that, you know, organizations that we have invested in feel comfortable to share with us, you know, their struggles. And I think, you know, a major part of what we can play as a small foundation is being responsive. You know, we don't have like a huge bureaucratic process. There is a process, but it doesn't have to take a ton of time. And I think that when any organization has come to me in need, we have found a way to support them. And I think that to me feels very important to our work. You know, if there is really a need out there, we want to be able to act on that. And so, you know, I feel very privileged to be able to be in that position, that I can support financially, and also be a sounding board to the organizations that we work with.
Well, for me, I believe that the foundation of trust-based philanthropy is relationship, just like Paula and Anna said. Because when you have a relationship, you have so many layers that you need to get through until you reach trust, right? And once you reach this common ground of trust, things are easier to flow. And another thing that is important on trust-based philanthropy or in philanthropy, besides money, is to identify the logjams that you face along the way, because not every time it's money is important, but sometimes it's just about making bridges, building bridges, and giving access to simpler solutions. Sometimes it's information, sometimes it's connection to other people, sometimes it's a different ability, access to a different sort of education. Sometimes it's just communication that you have to facilitate communication, because we are acting in a ground where we have so many different languages and cultural backgrounds that if you do not have the sensibility to see what is behind, what is addressed in a language that sometimes is not the primary language of the community, you can mess up with everything, you know. So yeah, I think that identifying the log jams and addressing them properly is a big challenge, and also a nice way to solve the complexity of the issues that we deal with on philanthropy.
Thank you. I feel that all of your answers just brings me to the humanity of this, right? I think so many times, especially in traditional transactional relationship between grant giver and grantee or investee, whatever it is like the form, it's the institution and the organization that are relating and forgetting there are humans behind it. And then when you talk about relationship, being able to adapt, being able to, be in service, a soundboard or whatever it is that is just taking care of each other in many ways, and also remembering we're humans, we don't know all the answers, and sometimes plans change. But anyway, we still have some more time to chat. So I know the Zoom link for our Q&A has already been shared on the chat. So I'll invite you all to click there, and hopefully I'll see you there in a second.